What's up, guys? It's Tony from Street Church and The Inside Job. Thanks for checking out The Inside Job podcast today. Hey, we're in week 2 of our series called More in Common Than You May Think. More in Common Than You May Think. And this week we are going to talk about a shared likeness. Seeing people for who they are rather than who they are not. I think this is like key stuff, right? Foundational to be able to add value to people's lives. And the reason why you are here and I am here on this planet is to love God and to love others, and that always equals adding value to people's lives. And in order to do that, we have to see each other with a shared likeness, and we have to see others for who they are rather than who they are not. Very important, right? Not to base people's worth or value on their accomplishments, on the things that they produce, on what they have done or what they haven't done, but simply for who they are and whose image they bear. And sometimes that's really, really hard to do, especially with people who you're trying to reach out to, you're trying to help, you're trying to love, and for lack of a better term, they are not receiving it very well, right? They have injured you, they have brought harm to your lives, they've squandered your efforts to try and help them and love them. And for anybody like that, it's very hard to see God's likeness in them. The same likeness that you have in you. It's hard for you to see that in them. And the key to adding value to people's lives, even people who have wronged you, or people that you don't like, or people who, are toxic to you, the key to adding value to anybody's life is to recognize a shared likeness that you have with them, regardless of what they have done that is bad or what they have done that is good, right? I mean, even like right off the get-go, in the beginning of Jesus' ministry, we see this, right? So he comes to John the Baptist and he gets baptized, and he goes into the water, and he comes up, and there's a voice from heaven, it's his father, and he says, "This is my beloved son, whom I love. In him I am well pleased." And let me ask you a question. What did he do up until that time? Did he heal anybody? Did he teach any powerful sermons? Did he do anything in terms of ministry? No, right? He didn't accomplish anything that we know of. He didn't produce anything that we know of. He was simply obeying his father, walking with God, right? And God said his value is because he's my son. His value is because I love him. It's not because of who he heals or how many Sermon on the Mounts he happens to, preach, how many people respond to him, how many people he baptized. His value is because I love him and he belongs to me. And I think it would serve us well to remember that, our value or other people's value in our eyes should not be based upon, what we multiply, what we produce, what we accomplish, what we have earned, what we have achieved. It's based upon how God sees us and who we are to him, period. Our relationship with him. And sometimes it's really hard to see that image and that likeness in others, and to see that shared image that we have when people have injured us and people have hurt us, right? But let's not forget, Genesis chapter 1 and verse number 27, everybody knows what it says. It says, God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created them, male and female, he created them. And, I love this quote. It says, in the beginning, God created man, and we have been returning the favor ever since. It would do us well to remember that every person who you like, every person who's a family member, every person who's not a family member, every person of the same ethnicity, the same color, every person that has burned bridges, that has wronged you, every enemy, every friend, they all bear the same image that you bear. And if you're having a hard time, right, seeing that, maybe what you need to do is to zoom out to be able to see that image inside of people who have hurt you. Maybe what you need to do is zoom out. What I mean by zooming out is taking a look at yourself in the mirror, like taking a real long, honest, sincere look at the reflection that looks back at you, and remembering all of the nasty, disgusting, stupid, harmful, hurtful, self-centered things that you have thought, said, and done. And regardless of that, you have God's image in you. And regardless of what other people have done, whether they, listen, I'm in inner city Trenton every day. I talk to the same people every week who make the same stupid mistakes, who do the same harmful things, who never seem to want to change. And the frustrating thing is to feel as though, here I am, I'm trying to give, I'm trying to pour out, and nothing is coming back to me. Like, I never see much of any change in people's lives. And it could be discouraging. And it could be, hurtful, right? Because here I am, I'm trying to pour out. And, it's like, but you know what? It helps me when I go to the mirror and I remember that, they're not the only one who is jammed up. And even regardless of, and regardless of whether how jammed up they are or how jammed up I am, they bear the same image of the same God, of the same Father, of the same Creator in them. Okay? Focus on your shared likeness, right? And in order to do that, you have to zoom out and take an honest look at yourself sometimes. You have to zoom out if you want to see that likeness, right? It's like I love French Impressionism. I think their paintings are so cool, right? Except if I'm really close, right? If if there's a French Impressionist painting and you're like 6 inches away from it, it just looks like a bunch of dots, right? A bunch of random dots on a piece of canvas. But then when you take a step back 6 or 7 feet, things begin to come in focus more. And you see this beautiful picture on the canvas because you've taken a step back. And and you're able to see it for what it actually is. If you want to see people who have harmed you and recognize God's image in them, take a step back, zoom out, look at yourself in the mirror. Paul says in Acts chapter 17. So in Acts chapter 17, this is a great example of seeing people who are not like you, who do not believe in the same God as you believe in, but seeing them with a shared likeness for who they are rather than who they are not. Listen to Paul. So Paul is in Athens, Greece, and he's talking to, and he is talking with a bunch of Greek philosophers, and they're debating, and they're talking about religion and philosophy. They're talking about eternity and God, and these philosophers are not, Christians, and they don't believe. They believe in many gods, and this is what Paul says in Acts chapter 13. It's very interesting. When what he does is he focuses, on their shared likeness to build a bridge. He says this. He says in Acts chapter 17 and verse number 28, he says, "For in him, in God, we live and move and exist." We. Even you Greek philosophers who don't believe the same thing I do, you live within the same God, right? We live and move and exist. And even as some of your own poets have said, for we, there's that word again, we also are his children. Then being the children of God, we ought not to think that the divine nature is like gold or silver or stone, an image formed by the art and thought of man. He uses this word "we" 3 different times, right? He says, we all live and move and exist in God. We also are his children. We are from the same Father who breathed life into all of us. We have that commonality, that likeness of the same Creator who loved us into existence. And he says, we ought not to think that the divine nature is like gold or silver, an image formed by the art and thought of man. So Paul was trying to build a bridge. He was able to see them for who they were rather than who they were not. And the key was being able to see and being able to center and focus on their shared likeness, the shared image that was within all of them. Right? That is so important, I think, because to help prevent this us and them kind of a mindset, which can very easily happen, we have to focus on the shared likeness that is within us all. It's the only thing that's going to build a bridge into people's lives that'll help them to come into a different conversation with, God, right? A more meaningful, life-changing conversation. And remember, if you're having a hard time seeing God's image inside people because of how they have treated you or how they lived their life or how they have injured you, right? You're not alone. We all have. Zoom out and take a step back and look in the mirror. It may be the best thing that you can do for yourself and for them in terms of adding value to their lives. All right? All right. 1 week down, 2 weeks down, 1 week to go. You're not going to want to miss our third and final week. Until then, have a great week. See ya.